Today is the day we fire up the good old CR250. Been waiting for this day for a long time. Now originally I was going to wait until the bike was completely done to start it up, but I got my suspension tubes back yesterday. They came in not quite as I had hoped. Kind of disappointed about it, but that stuff just kind of happens. You know, what can you do? We're working on it. We're going to figure this thing out soon. But in the meantime, I was thinking, why wait any longer? I just want to hear this baby bark. Now, what the bike will need before we fire it up is a silencer, gas, coolant, gear oil, and of course, a couple kicks. Hopefully only one, but I'm not betting on it. As for the silencer, got one from PC that I made look pretty cool with some heat treating. Just gonna go ahead and slap this thing on temporarily. I don't have the dampers for the silencer yet, kind of forgot about those. So it's all kind of jimmied up right now, not really lined up perfectly quite yet. Now for gas, got some 92 non-ethanol, and I will be mixing in some 927 at 32:1. These cups are pretty sweet. If you guys don't have one, gotta check it out. So you just pick your ratio, fill it up to the amount of gas you're using, and then just pour it in. Check that out, that's sweet. Man, it's getting real. This thing's about to run. Adding in fluids for the first time is always a bit of a test. It's kind of nerve-wracking. Get to see if your carb is holding, your petcock, your tank, seeing if the engine is all sealed up, as well as your cooling system. Next up, we're gonna add in some gear oil. Now for gear oil, I'll be using Maxima MTL 80 weight. This bike calls for 700 cc's. Now there's a lot of back and forth on the internet about which oil to use. A lot of different opinions out there, so here's mine. Find a company that you can trust, use the recommended weight for your bike, and make sure the price is within your budget. Now for the most part, pretty much any motorcycle specific oil is gonna be suitable for your bike. I've tried big name oils like Rotella T, never noticed a huge difference between them, but I would be more comfortable running an oil more geared toward motorcycle use. And what I found is pretty much any oil from Rocky Mountain or any big motorcycle distributor is gonna be a good fit for your bike. So pretty much have your pick, stick with it, and don't sweat about it too much. And one thing that is pretty important is coolant. You definitely wanna use a motorcycle specific coolant like the one we have here, Engine Ice. I wouldn't recommend using anything from Napa or O'Reilly's or AutoZone. That stuff usually isn't rated to the temp we need for dirt bikes. So everything checked out great, no leaks thankfully. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this, but no matter how many times you check things over, there's still that little voice in the back of your head going like, did I put everything together right? Is this thing even gonna run? So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. But you know what? Let's just go for it. I'm guessing like 6 or 7 kicks and we'll hear this thing scream. Closer. Woo. Now when you fire up a bike for the first time, you want to make note of any weird noises. So when I first started it up, I noticed like a screeching sound coming from what seemed like the power valve area. So I took the cover off, tightened up the cable a little bit. I believe it was a little bit loose and that screeching went away. So if you hear anything weird, definitely shut the thing off immediately. Everything sounds good now. I am pretty freaking pumped, guys. It's been a long time coming. So keep in mind, whenever you do a complete engine build, more times than not, you're gonna run into a few little quirks here and there that you gotta work out. So don't be dejected if something comes up. Let's go ahead and see what I got the temp up to. Looks like 100 degrees. It's a bummer the bike is still like halfway together. I really want to go take it down the driveway, break it in, and just make sure everything is 100% good to go. So there are a couple things I was curious about before I had the bike up and running. The first being the Electron carburetor. So it seems like it runs pretty good. Couldn't fully test it out obviously, but it seems like it's set up pretty close from the factory. Shouldn't need to do much adjusting with that. The carbon tank looks amazing, doesn't leak, no surprises there. Radiator cap looks like it's pretty accurate in showing the temp. And one thing I wanted to touch further on was this steel horse swing arm bolt. So this basically allows you to grease the swing arm pivot bearings from the outside with a grease gun. You don't have to take anything apart. And I had a lot of questions and concerns about the grease fitting. So that fitting is spring loaded. It's got a little ball inside of there. So it takes pressure from a grease gun to squirt the grease in there. And a lot of people were curious if water and dirt would enter through that. So the answer to that is no, unless you are pressure washing really close. But just general pressure washing should be completely fine. And that grease fitting is the shorter type, so it's not gonna stick out and rub on your boots at all. Show the other side as well. So it's like more of a flush mount kind of grease fitting. So as far as everything in the kit, you're getting the bolt, the spacers, you're also getting the grease fitting that you just hook up to your grease gun to shoot grease through. This is the fitting right here. It's pretty straightforward. You just press that tip into the end of the bolt, give it a couple pumps, and just like that, your swing arm pivot bearings are greased. And I've had some people ask about the price too. It is around $150 with a discount code, which seems a little steep, but when you break it down, it is gonna save you a lot of time in having to pull your bike halfway apart just to grease those bearings every time. The thing is gonna last forever, made in the USA, nickel plated, and is gonna keep your swing arm bearings in good shape for a long time to come. For you guys that are interested, I'll drop a link down below in the description to this kit. Now, Steel Horse is a sponsor of the channel, but I wanna get the word out about good quality products that are gonna save you guys a lot of headache. I've seen way too many swing arm bolts stuck inside the swing arm or the cases and trash bearings, and this kit's the ticket to solving that. So if you guys are interested and want to purchase one, use the discount code CAM10 to save yourself 10% on one of these kits. Now, after all that blabbing, I'm gonna fire this thing up again and let it rev out a little bit more this time. I was getting a little worried there, heard some rattling around the engine, then I realized my engine mounts are still loose. The joys of having a half put together dirt bike. This thing's a freaking rattle trap. Got bolts loose all over the place, seats rattling around, silencer doesn't have any rubber mounts on it, radiator braces aren't very tight. Yeah, that's one reason I don't like starting up a bike before it's completely finished. Sounds like the engine's about to explode with all those parts shaking around. I'm gonna pull this plug out and see what she looks like. Always good to make sure the thing ain't running lean. Yeah, we really don't have enough time on this plug to really get a gauge on how it's running, but I don't really see any white developing on that plug, and that would be a sign of it running lean. So all looks good so far. Now, once I get the bike completely together and rideable, I can actually break in the engine fully. And so I'll do a video on exactly that, so stay tuned. Also, if you guys are in need of any of the fluids we used or the mixing cup, I'll drop a link down below to where I buy this stuff. It is such a cool feeling to finally hear this engine bark. I mean, it's been over a year since I started building it. Went through so much in the meantime, went through cancer, had a lot of issues along the way. And so it's super rewarding to hear it run. I mean, I bought this bike in pieces, had no clue if it was gonna run, no idea about the electronics, the engine internals, or anything for that matter. And for it to work out like this, I am just ecstatic. So on that note, I'm going to sign off and get back to work on fixing this suspension issue. So I will see you guys in the next video. Keep it prime.